All right, I am sitting out here in the dark after the Yankees blew another one, 2-1 tonight. But it's a nice night, and I'm gonna kind of get back into my best of my indie wrestling memories videos tonight. Most of you know the last video ended rather unfortunately, as I get a lot of negative things to say about certain people who don't seem to care about me as a friend and go out of their way a little bit to help me get to a show with these bad times. Next week's my birthday, and I would love to get to a show in Massachusetts, Pioneer Valley, but that's extremely asking a lot. It's great promotion up there. Well, anyways, one thing, one of my friends, Kevin Waterhouse, says if you do any more of your indie wrestling memories videos, you need to talk about cyberspace. And you know what? This is for you, and it's for Kaz, my old traveling companion and my buddy, who I still know to this day, but he is down south now, and among other things, I can't get down there for the same old reasons. But Mike and I went to most of the cyber shows that I attended together, and cyberspace was run by a man named Billy Firehawk. That was all, and his wife was apparently was a very wealthy lady, and she fronted the money for him to pursue his wrestling dream as a promoter, and occasionally Billy would wrestle. I believe he was part of a tag team called Smoke and Fire or something in cyberspace. Well, they brought in a lot of names, and one thing, I went to several of their shows, and one thing that was always consistent was the fun. Shows were held in Jersey, Wayne, New Jersey at the PAL. The first show, ironically, that Mike and I went to of theirs was when the company was called Cyberspace Wrestling Federation, CSWF, and it later became NWA Cyberspace. And they ran a show in an ice arena. CSWF didn't draw really well, but they did bring in NWA TNA at the time was a hot property. And they brought in Chris Harris and James Storm and Mike Tenay to that show. And that was quite at the time, that was a big deal. But the one thing about Billy Firehawk, he was a mark. He was a super mark. He was called Billy Firemark by a lot of people. But I use that term endearingly because he passed away, and he's really missed by so many people because he did something that a lot of the promoters are not able to do nowadays. He made a fun show for people. Were all the shows brilliantly booked with great matches? No, they weren't. But you know what? It was a fun show to go to. And a few of the moments I can remember, some great matches. I remember he brought Jeff Jarrett in. Jarrett was the NWA champion at the time, National Wrestling Alliance, which was kind of working with TNA. And Jeff did not do a lot of independent shows in that time frame. And he brought him in. It was a big deal. In fact, Mike and I paid a little extra besides our front row seats, and we got a Q&A with Mr. Jarrett. And I remember Jeff telling me, hey, I get paid a lot of money to do that good housekeeping match with China, so I don't care if I had to lose that match. And it was a stupid match. He had already signed with WCW, or TNA, I'm sorry, at the time, and it was a big deal. They had to keep the show that was promoted. WWE at the time with China, and Jarrett got paid extra for that match. But anyways, we saw, oh my gosh, I get to see AJ Styles, Jimmy Jacobs, there was Alex Shelley, I remember, the SAT, who were a tremendous tag team, the Maximo brothers. Got to see a lot of New England independent stars there. Of course, the Lex Luger casket entrance was one of the funniest moments. And it preceded Lex giving his robe to Matt Stryker. And Matt Stryker then proceeding to wear the robe for the next couple of shows and, make a big deal out of it. Well, Julio De Niro, who is a very solid indie worker, was in the guise of a magician at one of the shows. And Julio was like tapping on this this pasteboard casket. And all of a sudden, it looked like the door got stuck. And then all of a sudden, out pops Lex Luger. And of course, Lex was still in pretty good health back then and looking pretty good. And that was a huge deal on the indies, for that kind of thing, to have Lex Luger at a show like that. Yeah, like I said, there were some great managers there. John Shane, who's a legendary manager in the Northeast. So many guys, a lot of the guys you would see in the Northeast all the time. I can recall the great run of matches between Abyss and Mana, the Polynesian Warrior. And Mana really, they were incredible. Mike and I went to several shows, and they were just incredible matches with those two. And you never got tired of it. But yeah, again, Billy used to come out, Firehawk used to come out and insert himself in the show, and he'd take his shirt off, like, I'm going to fight. And the guy was like 400 pounds. He looked like me without a shirt off. It's not a pretty sight, except 5 times worse than me. But you know what? There was the sign guy that was always there in the front row with the signs. All Money is Legal. I remember them. They were a great tag team, high spot tag team, and they're very often at that show, that promotion. But yeah, Billy wanted to bring some names in, and he wanted to make himself the star of the show too. But you know what? It's his money. And it was one of the most fun promotions that I went to, and as I said, I went regularly. And Billy is very, very sorely missed in the independent wrestling world. Rest in peace, big guy. And so are the trips that Kaz and I made to Cyberspace, and then the Blue Colony Diner on the way back to Connecticut, in Newtown, Connecticut. Some more memories. And I will hopefully return with another video soon. Good night, everyone. And for those of you that ever went to a Cyberspace show, comment on YouTube if you want, or on Facebook. I hope you enjoyed it. Good night, everybody.